In New York City, silence is a luxury. Even at 4:52 a.m., the city was awake. A distant siren cut through the darkness. Somewhere below the fifth-floor apartment, a delivery truck hissed as it parked. The subway rumbled underground like a restless heartbeat that never slowed down. Not for sleep, not for prayer, not for anyone. Daniel Morales lay awake on his narrow bed, staring at the cracked ceiling above him. The ceiling had been cracked since they moved in 3 years ago. The landlord promised to fix it. He never did. Daniel checked his phone. $3,412.27. That was the balance in his bank account. Tomorrow, $2,800 would disappear as rent. After that, groceries, Metro cards, school lunch, electric bill, gas, internet. New York didn't care how hard you worked. It only cared whether you could keep up. Daniel quietly sat up, careful not to wake his wife. The apartment was small, 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, a kitchen barely wide enough for 2 people to stand without touching. The living room doubled as a homework space, a dining area, and sometimes, when overtime ran late, a temporary bedroom. Daniel's wife, Maria, slept lightly. Years of worrying had trained her body the same way Daniel's job had trained his muscles. Their son, Lucas, 10 years old, slept on a bunk bed he shared with his younger sister, Sophia, who was 7. The kids had learned to stay quiet early. Noise traveled fast through thin walls, and neighbors complained faster. Daniel moved to the kitchen and started the coffee. He didn't turn on the lights. He didn't need to. He knew this apartment by heart. The chipped counter, the old fridge humming like it was struggling to breathe, the calendar on the wall with dates circled in red. Rent, school trip, utilities. Rent again. Life in New York was one long calculation. Daniel worked 2 jobs. By day, he was a building maintenance technician in Midtown Manhattan, fixing broken elevators, changing light fixtures, clearing trash rooms, painting walls that would be scratched again within days. By night, 3 days a week, he drove for Uber. There was no such thing as rest, not if you wanted to survive. At 6 a.m., Daniel kissed Maria's forehead. She opened her eyes. "You okay?" "Yeah," he lied. "Try to sleep." She nodded, but worry never fully left her face. Maria worked part-time at a daycare in Queens. She loved the kids, but love didn't pay Manhattan rent. Daniel stepped into the hallway. The building smelled like old paint and last night's cooking. The elevator was broken again, so he took the stairs, 5 floors down, knees already protesting. Outside, New York greeted him the only way it knew how. Cold air, loud streets, people moving fast like they were late for something important, even if they didn't know what. By 7:30 a.m., Daniel was scrubbing graffiti off a service door behind a luxury apartment building. Inside those apartments, people paid more for monthly parking than Daniel paid for groceries. Sometimes he wondered what it felt like to live without counting every dollar. But he didn't allow himself to think too long. Thinking slowed you down. His supervisor walked by. "Daniel, elevator B needs fixing. Tenants are already complaining." "On it," Daniel replied. Always polite, always reliable. That was how you survived. Daniel ate lunch alone in the maintenance room. A peanut butter sandwich, an apple, water from the tap. He scrolled through his phone. Maria had sent a message. "School says Lucas needs $120 for the science trip." Daniel closed his eyes. "Of course he does," he typed back. "Okay, I'll figure it out." He always did, even when he didn't know how. That night, Daniel came home after 9 p.m. Sophia was asleep on the couch, clutching her backpack. Lucas was half asleep at the table, homework unfinished. Maria looked tired. "They raised the grocery prices again," she said quietly. Daniel nodded. "I'll drive extra this weekend." She hesitated. "You're already exhausted." He shrugged. "So is everyone." They ate dinner in silence. Love didn't disappear under pressure, but it changed shape. It became quieter, more careful, like something fragile that had to be protected. The fear wasn't homelessness. The fear was falling just slightly behind. One missed paycheck, one medical bill, one broken car. In New York, being middle class meant standing on a thin line. One step forward, one step away from collapse. Daniel felt it every night when he checked his account. every morning when he kissed his kids goodbye. That year, New York elected a new mayor. The campaign talked about rent stabilization, public transit costs, childcare relief support for working families. For the first time in years, Daniel listened closely. At a community meeting in the Bronx, Daniel stood among janitors, teachers, delivery drivers, home health aides, people like him. The candidates spoke about affordability, about workers, about families barely surviving. Daniel clapped harder than he expected. Maria noticed the campaign flyers on the table. "You believe him?" she asked. Daniel paused. "I believe we deserve better." They voted together. It felt small, but important. Hope didn't pay rent, but it made survival feel less lonely. Months passed. Rent didn't drop overnight. Life didn't suddenly become easy. But something changed. The city announced expanded rent protections. School lunch programs expanded. Transit discounts increased for working families. Small things. But small things mattered when you lived on the edge. One evening, Daniel came home earlier than usual. Sophia ran to him. "Daddy, you're early." He smiled. "Just for today." They sat together on the floor, helping Lucas with homework. Maria watched from the kitchen, her eyes soft. New York was still expensive, still loud, still demanding. But that night, the apartment felt warmer. Daniel Morales was not famous. He didn't own property. He didn't have savings. He didn't have security. What he had was love, discipline, and endurance. And in a city that demanded everything, that was still enough. In New York City, surviving is not a failure. For millions of families, surviving is the bravest thing they do every single day.